Hello everyone, we're back.
Hi.
And exciting news. I have a cat on my lap. There we go. You see, it's not all bad.
I I think it's better than not bad when there's a cat in your lap.
Right. Where do you want to have a little look and see if we have solved these sorts of difficulties?
I will endeavour to. Um,
It sounds like you
we
can
left,
hear me now, which is a big improvement over not being able
that's
to hear me.
a huge improvement.
Every step in the right direction is a meter closer to paradise. I don't know. I make up phrases sometimes. That one wasn't very good though. Right. What were the other? So I could just talk about other cards, couldn't I? Before I was talking about Mavirus and the fact that I thought I would take it out and maybe put a Moon Pool in instead, even though I did nothing with either of these cards on the day. I think the Moon Pool is the more fungible of the two. Hybrid Release also underperforms as an agenda. You don't very often get to fire its other claws, and it's always just a bit feels bad to score a blank 2-1. Very occasionally, it's like you've already got a Blood in the Water on the board. They've got exactly one card in hand, and then this is the card that you need. Hybrid Release is the card that you need. But most of the time, it was just like. Most of the time, I might have preferred this to be a 2-point agenda, I suppose, but I don't know what.
What are the options? 2 pointers. I'm not sure I've built a Jinteki deck since maybe the first basic bitch PE deck that I made when I first discovered that you could do this.
You know how all of the corporations have a kind of signature 3-2 that can be over advanced to do something absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Jinteki doesn't have that. Jinteki has Project Yagyuda, which I will find. And Project Yagyuda is. I've literally never seen anyone use it like over advanced text. Project. So when you score this agenda, place one agenda counter on it for each advancement token over 3. Fairly standard. And then host agenda counter, swap a card in HQ with a card in or protecting the attacked server. The runner may jack out. Use this ability only during a run. I have never in my life seen people actually use this. I think in theory there is stuff that you could actually do with it in the current meta. You could swap a resident enemy for an unresident enemy and just like cycle in enemies like that. But it's because it says the runner may jack out, it's just not quite good enough, you know? Or people aren't exploring it properly. Like you'd want something like Lacosta Grid or Seamless to make sure you were getting that extra token, and then you'd want a bunch of stuff that can use the extra token. I guess like I don't know. I could theory craft some sort of deck that makes this matter, but it wouldn't look like the deck that we've been talking about today in any meaningful sense. I guess like it would be a good way of saving a Fuji asset retrieval that I've put out double advanced onto the board. I'm talking myself into this now.
It sounds like a possible good change. I mean, my hybrid release is designed to work with Isuak, right?
Yeah. No, not. I think it's designed to work with a sort of like Regenesis-y type deck because it's getting stuff out of archive.
Yeah, with Genesis they need to be face down, don't they?
Yeah.
And Isuak is you score it without advancing it.
Yeah.
And then you get a counter, yeah, that's right.
So I could hypothetically see a version of this deck that changes out my virus for Moonpool. That's another thing that would be good about hybrid release is that it works well with Moonpool. You want lots of little itty bitty agendas to work well with Moonpool. But yeah, my point is this card's underperforming. House of Knives might work well in the same slot as well. Just to make those like runner calculations a little bit harder.
Which is those are, it gives you tokens that you can then use for 1 net damage. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. During a run, and like if all I care about is so traditionally House of Knives has been very useful in kind of grinder decks that you don't see a lot of at the moment. But because if you score it, it's 4 net damage on a card. You get a net damage from scoring it, and you get 3 net damage in various different runs. I think it could be good in a deck like this, just to like make the runner have 1 fewer card than they think they do for this turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's underperforming. It's not terrible, but there might be some other bits and bobs I could do to make the deck do a little bit more of what I want. Mitosis is amazing. Mindscaping is just great value. Just a great value card.
I think that's been the sleeper hit card from the latest release, right? I remember you being quite dismissive of it when we first discussed it.
Yeah, I think I probably was.
And I don't remember other people being super excited about it, but it saw so much play in Worlds, like watching... I didn't watch the whole stream at the time, but I've watched most of it now, and it was in a lot of decks, a lot of non-Jinteki decks, which is significant.
I think... So there are 2 things that are really good about this. It makes... the threat of it makes people clear their tags, which people don't always do against Jinteki otherwise. And the other thing it does is, say the runner has been hitting HQ repeatedly and thinks they've got a really good idea of what's in there, suddenly they don't know what's in there anymore, because you've drawn 2 cards and you put 1 back. It's like a kind of poor man's sprint. I had plenty of runners on JNet and off run R&D after I put something on top of R&D, which I always thought was like an odd thing to do, because if I've got a snare in hand, that's usually where I will put it on R&D, because then it's like, this server is absolutely safe for this turn.
Did any of those runs result in a flatline for them?
No. To be fair to the runners who I faced, I didn't cause a lot of flatlines that were just off bad accesses. People were running safely. They just weren't necessarily safe at the start of their turn because of the things that I had hidden on the board and hidden in my hand and stuff. I think that a lot of runners kind of calculated they'd run first click with 3 cards in hand, which is fine, and draw back up and end on 3 cards, and not think that if I've got 6 credits and something double advanced on the board, I can res a Reaper function and triple advance a Fuji, and that's game. This is the kind of thing that people were making little mistakes about. I don't even know if you can call them mistakes. I think you do have to have a degree of aggression against Jinteki PE. But it's just finding that like correct limit of aggression.
Yeah. Did you use Trick of Light for scoring out very much?
Yes. During the bit of the stream that you couldn't hear, I was saying one of the almost like the classic way for this deck to win is to get a Fuji asset retrieval on the board with Mitosis, along with something else, have neither of those things get run, and then later in the game go Trick of Light off the thing that wasn't a Fuji, advance once, Neurospike for 6 damage total. And as long as you don't hit anything that gives them extra cards, or they don't have any way of drawing extra cards at the last minute or whatever, then you get the win off that.
Yeah. I'm not sure I have any further questions.
Okay, would you like to see it in action?
Maybe. Do you want to talk any more about the Worlds in general?
Yeah.
I want to say how funny it is that soccer is one of two people ever to win Worlds twice, and both times has done it with a deck that they chose at the very last minute. Like last year, famously, literally changed the deck whilst queuing up to submit a deck list. This year, I think, changed it the day before to the one they were playing on Crown of Servers. Did you know this? I guess I saw a bit of the... Watching the stream, I heard this at the interview at the end, but maybe in that wasn't discussed as much, and I don't know.
I didn't know that. I can well believe it about a player like Soccer. I liked the fact that deck didn't look like anything else in the current meta, and if you'd asked me, what do you think of... I always get these wrong around. It's Built to Last, isn't it?
It's Built to Last, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of Built to Last at the moment? I would have gone on a proper Hermes rant about how Built to Last can't be any good at the moment because of Hermes. And then, of course, someone like Soccer comes along and literally wins Worlds with a Built to Last deck.
I think it's just hilarious. I think it's really... I mean, obviously, the Soccer is an amazing player. It's objectively proven by his results last year and this year. But I find it very funny, these last-minute changes. It leaves open the question of whether he's an absolute genius level player who's prone to last minute panics and changing, and actually just so good that whatever deck he randomly changes to, then he just beats everyone anyway. Or whether he's got amazing genius meta sense that kicks in the adrenaline just before the tournament starts. I mean, what an amazing guy, whatever.
Yeah, an amazing player. One of the greats.
One of the without a doubt now. But yeah, I found that extremely funny, and obviously really.
And winning Worlds with Clearinghouse as well is just it's such a funny thing to do. But clearly, it's the card of the moment. There it is.
Yeah, I'll feel better every time I get flatlined by Clearinghouse. Yeah. No. Okay, our tech is working fine, and my child has just woken up. So I'm going to go and see to him for a minute or two. I think probably my wife can have a word with him, but I think she was in the bath. Bear with me.
Okay. I will waffle for a minute while we set up a game on shinteki.net. Let's get off this page as quickly as possible. A new game. Emergency hedge. Streaming live. I'm just setting up the game, Dave.
Oh, awesome. She stepped in before I got upstairs, so we're all good.
Okay. Cool. Just realised I haven't changed what this deck is called on my JNet. It's...
The published name is slightly better than this.
Yes. I needed to think of a different name to publish it under.
So, I was going to chat a bit about Parallel Gym.
Oh, Sugar Puffs.
That's
yeah.
That's right, okay.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Let's do that first. No, we said we were going to do that first.
Okay.
Or do you want to do it? Do you want to do a quick game and then do it?
Well, as we've gone out of the lobby now, pull up the page. We won't chat for ages. But you this stream have been issuing a major mea culpa about how good your PE deck was and how well you're going to do. I have to issue my own mea culpa, which is we had a brief conversation last time we streamed about you planning to play Mystic and Jim Culver.
Yeah.
Well, I think I advised my only advice in playing Mystic was to not play Jim Culver.
Yeah.
With the card pool you have in mind, which only had two Mystics in it. Obviously, Fantasy Flight Games, big fan of the channel. Leapt into action as soon as they heard me say that, and have issued the parallel version of Jim. Do you remember what the parallel versions of Investigators are?
From what I remember, it's fairly self-explanatory. It is the same Investigator with some different text, that you can do different things with.
Yeah, it's like a remix basically.
Yeah.
And often they're print and play, so they're free and downloadable from the FFG website. It was something they started during the pandemic. I think partly to address the content drought at the time, because obviously the entire world ran to a halt. And they have come back to them now, I think, partly to address the fact that the gap between cycles is longer than a year this time around, which is very welcome. They're really fun and they're really interesting, and it's really nice to have injections of new content that are free and that everyone can enjoy if they're really nerdy and into the game, but don't put a burden on FFG in terms of having to put out new products.
Yeah.
Jim, there's maybe one other investigator that was like an early design that maybe just didn't quite land in retrospect.
I just might have a look at what original Jim looks like.
Original Jim. Yeah, that's a great idea. So he's a Dunwich investigator. His original deck building, like all of the investigators in Dunwich, is one class plus 5 level zeros from any other class. Probably the best way to find him is to go into the Dunwich Legacy on the left-hand side, and he'll be near the top. Yeah, there is. 4 down. There we go. His investigator ability is treat the modifier on a skull token. On skull tokens you reveal as 0. So skull tokens tend to be the chaos token that scales through a scenario. Yeah. So it will often say -1 and then in brackets, or -3 if something happens, or it's -X. X is the number of something that scales in the scenario, that kind of thing. So the skulls that like late scenario can often be really bad. Yeah. Like, as bad or worse than any token in the bag except for the auto fail. Nonetheless, this is not a very strong ability. It's a minor modification to 2 or possibly 3 of the tokens in the bag. And on some scenarios, if you're 3 up, it just doesn't make any difference at all. Yeah, if you're typically 3 up. And sometimes partway through the scenario, if you're 1 up, it doesn't make any difference at all. And it's also mystics, particularly because they are really willpower strong investigators. The 4 willpower investigators struggle to perform as well as the 5 willpower investigators. And I think Jim had a bit of a rough introduction when he came into the card pool because he was he was only the second mystic, and he had 4 willpower as opposed to Agnes's 5, and a weaker ability. So he struggled to really find a place. Like, there's a lot more token manipulation in the card pool now, which means that there are builds you can make with him. He's not terrible. He's got nice all-rounded stats. Like 3 and 3 in intellect and combat they're acceptable. Like, you can make a build around them, but again, you kind of need to lean into them and to plan for them. You can't just kind of bumble around a scenario with 3s and those 2 stats and hope for the best. That's Jim in his original incarnation, and this parallel I think is a bit of a tweak to a buff to bring him back into sort of more the kind of power level that you would expect from investigators.
Yeah, and when you talk about the buff.
Yeah, so let's scroll down. You should be able to see his card. I think is that on? No, you might need to click on. If you scroll back up again in the text, there's all the links will take pull up a pop up with the cards on. Don't look at his back first. Actually, look at the front. Here we go.
There we go.
So, After you reveal one or more skull or curse tokens during a skill test you're performing, replenish one charge on an asset you control once per round. So charges are typically the use type you have on spells, but there are some other assets that use charges. It's quite interesting to think about theorycraft about how you could work with those. But basically now if you pull his signature skull token or a curse token, then you get a benefit from it. So it makes immediately a lot more interesting possibilities with the build. It's a stronger ability in that it synergizes with a whole load of mystic cards, because most mystic cards are spells, and most spells take charges. I think almost all, if not all, spell assets take charges. And obviously there's a big synergy with the curse cards, which came out in the Innsmouth card pool, but also are coming back in the forthcoming Hemlock Vale player expansion. So he's coming out now, and there'll be a whole load of extra support coming out for him in the next expansion. His stats are the same, but yeah, I think he's just got a slightly more interesting and almost certainly more powerful ability on his front side.
Yeah, and it creates... I don't know enough about curse tokens, so we're going to do the bit where you do teach me about Arkham Horror. Are there cards that you could put in your deck to put curse tokens into the bag?
Yes, exactly. So there's curse tokens and blessed tokens. Obviously, one is broadly good and one is broadly bad. Yeah. But both of them have a set of cards that allow you to add those tokens to the bag. Curse tokens tend to give you a really cool benefit as well, because you're adding a bad thing to the bag. And then there's a suite of cards that trigger off them being pulled out of the bag. And then separately, particularly within Mystic, you've got a whole load of cards that allow you to draw additional chaos tokens when you make a bag pull and choose between the ones. So you've also got a sort of token fishing mechanic that you can add to Bless a Curse, like adding and triggering cards.
That sounds really powerful. That sounds like quite an interesting ability.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's a really cool ability. And yeah, it's nice to see Jim, like, I'm trying not to be nasty about original Jim, because some people like him, and I don't think he's terrible, but I think he's slightly underwhelming compared. He's just a little bit below the curve, and I think he's been brought back up to the curve with this change. The fun thing about the parallel investigators is that there's two sides to them. And
okay, shall we go to the other side?
Yeah. And the other side, lots of people read through this. There's a great playing board games video where Justin reads through this, and everyone who read the article had this experience of going through it. Oh, that's nice, a nice little change. Good. They're giving Jim a dust up. Oh my goodness, what the hell is that?
Is this the spirit deck that we're going to come to?
This is the spirit deck. Yeah. So yeah, you can mix and match the fronts and backs. I'm not sure many people will be mixing the Jim front, but it's worth bearing in mind that the front side we've just seen can be mixed with Jim's original back, and you don't have to do the crazy shit we're about to discuss. But I know you very well, Jessica. We've known each other a long time. I know you're here for the crazy shit. I sure as hell am. My boy Jim, I think you mentioned when we were talking about him last week that he has really good, he's thematically really cool. Like he's a trumpeter that plays for the dead and communicates with the dead through his jazz trumpet. My boy Jim is now entering the game with a deck of a ghost army. So you have this separate spirit deck of 10 ally assets, or 9 good ally assets and 1 vengeful shade, and they could be from any class levels 0 to 2, and they hang out in the separate deck, and they come in and out of play, and you get their abilities while they're in play. You don't get their soak, and you don't get, they lose all of their traits, so you can't do like stupid stuff with them being allies or other traits that they may have. So there's a limitation in terms of how other card effects can play off them. presumably because it would just be bonkers good. Because allies tend to be really, really strong. If you can have a quick look at the Beyonds, that will just tell us and remind me how they come in and out of play.
Okie dokie.
The back of Beyond. Here we go. They lose offensive traits and gain. Yeah.
OBS disconnected for a moment and is now reconnected. So, would you check quickly that we're still online?
Yeah, of course. It looks like we are.
Cool.
Yeah, that was you asking me to check.
I heard myself.
Let's just pop back to the Beyonds.
So
I'm trying to do that with my mouse, which doesn't work.
So this is the front of Beyond.
Yeah. So your Ghost Army is randomised. Obviously, it's in a deck, and at the start of every turn, one of the spirits in your Ghost Army comes and gets attached to the Beyond. And when there's 4, you flip it over, and mostly they go away and bad things happen to you.
Okay.
So you've kind of got a rotating load of ghosts following you around and doing good things for you, and then they after there's too many of them, they'll go away. So you pull chaos tokens, and most of the chaos tokens get rid of the spirits.
Yeah.
Largely, they do bad things to you as well.
I mean, about 50-50 by the looks of it. So, they almost all discard. And then there's a discard or take damage. And then there's a healer horror one.
Yeah, so the elder sign is good because that's the elder sign. And the numbers are just discard. It's the tokens. Oh no, they're blessed tokens. Blessed tokens are just discard. Curse tokens and other symbol tokens are pain as well.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's not true at all, is it? Look, skulls, discard, and heal horror.
Yeah.
The cultist, elder thing, tablet, and curse are either discard the spirit or take the damage. That's really less harsh than I thought.
Yeah. It's really just the auto fail that's horrible. Everything else gives you options at least.
Yeah. Well, that's way better than I thought.
Yeah.
Cool. He's got a whole load of horror healing. That's his other thing.
Yeah.
So his trumpet, of which there is also a new version or advanced version, I think. Heals her.
That's
depending on token pools.
I can't say it right now, but I believe you.
Yeah, I think it's just a little bit further down. There we go. I'm not too far. Not that far. This bottom bit, so it's above here. This bottom bit is also that we get a challenge scenario for him. So most of the early parallel investigators had also a remix scenario that was special to them, that you could play with them if you had them in your deck. I've never played any of these. I would like to be able to. Well, look, Dunch is still here. Hey, Dunch, how you doing? Very glad you can hear us.
I shouldn't do that because people will get an infinite recursion.
Yeah, I thought they'd finished. They stopped doing the parallel scenarios, that they have for Jim. So that's really cool. This is a remix of a really brutal scenario from the Circle Undone, Wages of Sin.
Okay.
Which I hope we'll play together sometime.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, I am playing Carcosa tomorrow, Although that's
Oh,
why
yeah.
I need to fiddle about with TTS so that I'm confident it will behave itself. I've yet to pick my deck. I want to do a rogue deck, because then I've done every one of the archetypes. Do you have any recommendations?
For a rogue,
Yeah.
I think I would start either with Finn or with Winnie.
Finn or Winnie?
Both of them are really, really fun. Both of them kind of work if you just do good stuff rogue. Yeah, I think either of them I'd say you get a really solid like archetypal rogue experience. Amongst which is having one more power. Absolutely, your arse absolutely kicked by the encounter deck. So definitely get some encounter cancellation in there.
Cool. Right, is there anything else we want to say about Arkham Horror tonight?
I think we've covered it. It's good. Jim's good. Glad
It's a
to
good
have
game.
him. Yeah, I'm talking about playing a standalone with some friends, and I'm pretty tempted to take a gym deck with a Ghost Army, because who doesn't love a Ghost Army?
Who doesn't love a Ghost Army? When people ask me at the moment what my favourite game is, I say Arkham Horror, but I would say Netrunner has rallied significantly over the last week.
Have you you're doing the first scenario of Carcosa?
Yeah, we're starting Carcosa tomorrow.
Awesome. With Josh?
Yeah, with my son. I like the sort of pause where you sort of went, awesome. What you know what horrible things lie in wait for me.
I think I was probably thinking I was trying to talk and think at the same time, which is never a good idea for me. I wasn't particularly thinking of nasty things that are going to happen for you. I think Carcosa is a really good campaign. There are several beats in that campaign that are some of my favourite times I've had in the game altogether. I look forward to updates on how you are progressing. I believe in a lovely evening at the theatre awaits you, and I'm just very sorry not to be sharing in that with you.
I also played the first scenario of the Dulwich Legacy.
Which first scenario though?
The one in the casino, because I thought it looked really cool. It's really cool. It's really good fun.
Do you remember me saying that you play Knight of the Zealot and it's good, and then you start playing Dulwich, and then you're like, oh, that's for me, that scenario, House Always Wins, was the moment for me. I was just like, oh my god, this is really cool.
Yeah. It reminded me of when you and I played the Innsmouth Conspiracy together, and we ended up running away with an absolute conga line of monsters coming after us. That is kind of how our House Always Wins experience ended, and it just felt really good. It felt like we did what we came to do, and then we ran away just as everything came crashing behind us.
Did you rescue the dissolute and confused academic?
Yes, we did.
Well done.
And I think we might have gotten all the victory points that we could as well. I think we did quite well. We might have left one on the board. I remember there was a lot of debate over whether it was safe to get the one that was left. It was one of those things where a monster is an absolutely huge monster we definitely can't deal with is 2 rooms over. But people are like, no, I reckon if I do this and this and this, we'll get all the clues. And it's sort of yeah, or something could go wrong.
Or we could die.
Yeah.
There's actually a design mistake in that scenario, which means you can't leave all of the clues down.
Okay.
Sorry, you can't take all the clues off the board.
Oh.
When you resign, you're supposed to leave all of your clues on the location that you're carrying at the time that you resign, and the location that you resign from in that scenario is a victory point location. So technically, you can't ever get those victory points because you've no way of getting rid of the clues.
I think I missed that. I think we might have.
It's easily done, and I wouldn't suggest you wreck on it. I would take the XP because I think it's a design mistake.
It's obvious it's a design mistake because there are clues on there, and there'd just be no point in picking them up if Actually, there would be one. Anyway.
Yeah, I think you need them to go into some of the other rooms. So I think all of those rooms have to have a clue on them. But anyway, this is properly arcane.
I can sense us getting into the weeds a little bit there.
I think so. Let's crawl out of them and play some Netrunner instead.
Yeah. Allow spectators. I did, when I started grinding this deck. Actually, let's have a look. So I've played 42 games with this deck, full stop, plus the ones that I played. I probably played about 50 games with this deck.
Mm-hmm.
Which, so I mean, we could probably get half a dozen games in tonight with this deck, because when it wins, it's really quick. You'll see, fingers crossed, touch wood. It's usually a bad sign if games are dragging on to turn 7 or 8. It wins. I had some very, very quick wins with this deck on the day as well.
Nice. Dunch is saying, did we ever hear about Wormwood coming to Kickstarter early next year? I don't know what Wormwood is, so I don't think I heard about it.
I don't know what Wormwood is either. I put it in the title as well. I'm being overly cautious. Hello, Arissana. I'm going to make you very, very sad by having absolutely nothing good for you to use your ability on. Do I want this? So this has got mitosis in, which is the key card.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It hasn't got any econ in. But it has got an Urtica function, an Urtica cipher, and a Reaper function. And we could pull econ. So we're going to keep it, because mitosis is just good.
There's a moon pool.
Let's do this. No, not that. No, let's do that. So we're going to get out a Reaper function and a moon pool, and we're just going to take a credit. A Reaper function and Urtica cipher, and we're just going to take a credit. I considered putting the moon pool out, because then you can put an extra token onto the Urtica cipher, which gets it to 5 damage rather than 4. Biobands. One of the new cards that is quite good against this deck is it allows you to draw on tempo and get stuff installed, and that's also very good against this deck. Dr. Nuke, because they could now draw up to 8 and run the Urtica cipher, and
oh,
okay. They have made some sort of error.
Yeah, interesting. That seemed to be going well for them. I wonder what they said.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done a damn thing different to that. That was ideal.
Yeah. Draw cards. They drew cards before they did the install. That makes sense.
Yeah. Can't fire the snare, which is unfortunate.
That is unfortunate.
Kind of the one card we didn't want them to hit. Yeah, and this is what you should do. This looks. This actually looks.
Everything, and they had enough cards that it wasn't going to kill them.
Okay. I'm going to draw once. New remote. Yeah, they had enough cards that they didn't care about that Urtica cipher. We've now got a moon pool and a Marilyn on the board. This is bad econ start.
They checked the Urtica and then they haven't run it. they've just left it alone.
They
Now
they
know what it
literally
is.
didn't have the money to, but you'll also see people do quite often do that. Okay. Let's res Marilyn. I'm just going to put this in a new remote. I'm getting 2 credits. Spin Doctor in a new remote. Yeah, you can take a look.
Oh, that's an interesting play. So they've decided that you've got nothing that's worth worrying about on the board. I wonder on what basis they've done that.
I find runners get tired of running the board quite quickly. Like, they had that turn where they had overdrawn. So they've seen a clearinghouse. We probably don't want to just play out a clearing. Oh, that's perfect. So they've seen a clearinghouse.
Now they'll think this is the clearinghouse if they're not paying attention.
I mean, even...
Seems they're paying attention.
Yeah.
But they didn't see the clearinghouse in HQ that time, so they don't know for certain that that isn't what's on the board.
They don't. And they're doing the right thing. They're not installing cards. They're treating them as HP.
Yeah. Other than card draw, there's really nothing that you need on the board really for this deck, is there? I mean, you have 3 anemones as your entire ice suite. And that's like, anemones do 1 net, isn't it? That's the sub.
So I'm seeing a lot of this card at the moment. Oof, that's rough.
Oh.
Now, if this wasn't a cerebral overwriter, if they'd not read us so purely, we'd be in a good position. Yeah, sure. I think we're going to lose this game, I'll be honest.
I suspect so. It looks that way, doesn't it? It looks like it'll be mercifully short, though.
I'm mindscaping to try and find what it is that we need. They will probably read that correctly and find the agendas in archives.
But there's a spin doctor on the table.
And there is a spin doctor on the table, but they can clear it fairly easily. And I have got lines as well. I mean, they're correct to get that Eker on the board.
Why is that?
Because they might want to break a cerebral at some point. I think I'm going to start IAAing stuff.
What's IA?
Install advance. Now you see, if
IA.
this was an Artica, I'd be able to kill them right now.
Yeah. Good read so far.
Yeah, real good read so far.
I want to know if they're going to be such a good reader that they're not going to run this one. Okay, they've run an overrider.
So that's 4 core damage.
Mm-hmm. Well then, indeed. So
Well
now
then,
it's just
indeed.
a case of getting the two damage off, presumably, unless they've got some way of increasing their hand size.
And then they've decided to run this as well because it might be a clearinghouse, and that's the game.
Yeah.
So that was 8 minutes, which isn't very long for a game of Netrunner.
8 turns, 8 minutes.
8 turns, 8 minutes.
Obviously, this is the deck that I want to start playing. I want to play Lunch Break with Netrunner.
Yeah. I would also say it's something that I find useful about the deck is you see a sec. We've reconnected. Hello, sorry if we lost you for a sec. OBS was just being funny. I was just saying this is a good deck to play if you want to see a lot of runner cards without necessarily having to interact with a lot of runner cards.
Yeah.
It does have a bad tendency to blank their cards. So let's do that again.
Lazy says, heck yeah, only have time to pop in briefly between chores for the day, but wanted to give some support, love the channel. Thanks, Lazy, that's really nice.
Thank you.
Thanks for your enthusiasm. I hope your chores go well.
I would say that game... So that game had all the classic features of the games that I played at Worlds. There was a point where I went, we've lost this game, and then we won it like two turns later.
Yeah.
It was also... I kept an eye on how the runner was interacting with the board, what kind of things they liked to do. And they mostly liked to run the cards that I put out. They mostly liked to, right?
That runner we just saw mostly like to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a bit unlucky that they didn't run the first of the 2 Cerebral Overwriters, but in practice that was kind of good because I was able to make them run a 4 Advanced Cerebral Overwriter later. Lat, this is a fun matchup. I usually... Mitosis is actually particularly good in this matchup, and I am tempted to... So I think my opening turn is going to be install NGO, advance NGO once, and put Moonpool on the board.
Okay. What's the line there? Using Moonpool to advance NGO again before you trigger it.
I want to minimise the degree to which I give them lat draws. Maybe I should have mulliganed for Mitosis, to be honest. So I'm trying to reduce my hand size so they at least aren't starting turns on 6 cards, because that's a thing that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Also, the second advance on NGO kind of sucks. It's a click for, you spend a click, you spend a credit, and it increases the value of the NGO by 3. So you effectively click for 2 credits, which is fine. It's just not great.
Yeah, I mean, its stock goes up if you're baiting a run.
Boy, howdy.
Really oh, hello. Chomp, chomp, chomp.
Chomp, 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 indeed. Alright. They don't seem to like running the board.
Is there a good counterplay to Cerebral Overrider?
Like the fireworks. Because I can works. I got Because I Canned earlier today, which is really funny.
That's not a card I'm familiar with.
You run a server, and instead of if successful, instead of accessing, you just shuffle everything in the server back into R&D. I'm going to do this.
Those are both good tips for playing against Cerebral Overrider.
Okay,
I meant, is there a play pattern? There's not really a play pattern you can use to avoid it hitting make the corp really poor, I guess.
Yeah, if you can... I am going to lose this game, I think. Let's try this. So this looks like I've got no money.
Mm-hmm. Which means they might be tempted
to keep doing it.
Yeah.
I do think they've won, though. And you often get this thing as well where a runner will do something turn X and won't do it again the following turn.
Okay. Could you
they've
expand a bit on that?
They've just gone and stolen a Fuji.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of obvious the next thing I might do would be... I'm just going to...
I've got... I think we're going to... Yeah, I was going to suggest you do this.
Yeah. I mean, more is very, very good for them. They got a turn 1 more. We're going to put that there because at least we can make it look like a clearinghouse.
What's that gone down to? Oh, it's Mike or Mike.
Yeah. Mayo, do you want to read that card for us, Dave?
First time a successful run R&D ends each turn, you may gain 1 credit for each card accessed. I assumed it was about to say.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah. Each time you accessed a card in R&D during that run. Yeah. Yeah, it's not looking promising, is it?
No.
There we go.
Yeah, early more. Yes, but you also played well.
Yeah. I think that was probably no notes play on their side, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Obviously, getting more in your opening hand is a very good way to win the game.
And that's also a good example of a time where we laid out a 50-50. I think if they'd run this cerebral, they would have had to... run the Fuji, we might have had something. You ran it, then didn't run the cerebral, which is the gamble this deck often has to take. And it's a sort of gamble that's informed better by in-person play, I would say.
Yes, yeah, because you can read the person properly rather than not.
Or at least this is like what I like to tell myself. My 9 wins at Worlds were pure skill. My skill as a reader of people, whereas my spottier, I think I might have just been a little bit rude to that person, just disappeared without saying goodbye. I'm thinking about too many things at once. My spottier record on JNet is obviously just because I don't have enough information. It's got nothing to do with the weaknesses of the deck or as me as a player.
I think you just need to point to the record of the deck. Undefeated at Worlds.
Yeah, so anytime they...
Yeah.
Lat with a more turn 1 is... It's not quite the Nightmare matchup. The Nightmare matchup is Loup with Imp installed and Knobkery because they can just trash everything that they want to the point where I don't concede because the games are over so quickly that I don't consider it worth doing so. But I it puts me in a mindset where I'm like, this game is effectively unwinnable from this point.
Dunch says they'd love to run their old APOC deck against this, but don't think that will ever happen.
APOC would absolutely. This is a heck of a real mulliganable hand. Sorry, I didn't even stop to look at it. It was 3 agendas, a snare, and an Artica. It would have been playable with a mitosis. It would have been just about playable with a mitosis. Alright, let's mindscaping and see if we can find a mitosis. We can't find a mitosis. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Let's go here and here. And see
what's the thinking behind those two?
I'm glad you asked, Dave. This will give us more draw next turn. We're taking a gamble. Maybe they don't like to run random and advanced fields. But we're wrong. Do I let them... I think I let them trash this rather than get back 1 mindscaping with it.
Yeah. I think that's the right call. I didn't so much mean what's the benefit of having Spin Doctor on the board, but why those two in particular as a combo, as the first 2 assets to keep it out.
There's a decent chance that they will run unadvanced cards, right?
Yeah. Feel free to take your turn and then continue the explanation.
I'm going to... What am I going to do? They're going to have beyond 6 credits. They've probably got Econ in hand.
Put the snare out. Put the snare out.
I'm not putting the snare on the board. I'm keeping the snare in hand.
Okay, yeah.
We don't have a particularly interesting line. I think this one's good enough, though. We're gonna lose this Urtica because either they're running this sort of stuff and we don't mind so much anymore whether we do damage to them. If they run it, we probably won't try and pull the same trick twice in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
You're right.
You can see they're sort of taking a minute, like, what do I do now, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now I actually might put a snare out on the board. That said, they could run it first turn, ooh, yuck, and still be able to draw 3.
If you clearinghouse, you might get a very nice score of blood in the water as a consequence, even if...
I might. I just don't want to go under 4 credits, is the thing.
Right, okay, yeah, of course, yeah.
So I'm going to put Sting out, because even if they run it, it's a nasty little tempo loss. But this actually is quite a good example of... Oh, yuck. At least we've got rid of one of those.
Yeah.
So, I think we can see right now why Mitosis is such an important card in this deck.
Of course, yeah, because you want these assets out and advanced, not just sitting naked on the board.
Yeah.
2 steel skins down.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago now, but I'm still quite interested in what the choice of the combo for the turn 1. You were saying that they might run naked assets.
They seem to be running naked assets.
Mm-hmm.
Is where we're at. So I think they... I think I am now going to put a snare out because they are running every fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
They've just seen the Reaper.
They've just seen the Reaper? Ah. Yeah. They saw that on R&D? Ah. Here we go.
Okay.
Blood on the water, something, win?
There's no something is the problem. 2 blood in the waters would do it. There's only 2 in the deck, and they've got 1 of them. This is what I mean about, like, if you stop me having a board state, I can't do very much. If they hadn't...
Yeah.
So, for example, if they hadn't trashed my Cerebral Overwriter earlier, I could win here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm going to trash this daily casts.
I would... No, not on 3 credits. I think that's...
Not on 3 credits when they've got 2 fermenters out.
Mm.
It is a very funny thing to do, to be fair.
What's a very funny thing to do?
Make people run naked snares. Sadly, we didn't have the money for the Reaper function as well. We haven't... I would say the 2 crucial cards are NGO Front and Mitosis, and we just haven't found either of them. They've gotten an Urtica. They got a Moon Pool, sorry.
That's got to be worth putting on R&D, hasn't it? How much does it cost to rest the enemy?
3. But then they'll run HQ repeatedly, which there's enough agendas in for them to win.
Fair enough, yeah.
I need Mitosis. Okay. We've not found the card we need, so... There we go. That's the kill.
Boom. Once again, you said we were going to lose the game, and then you move on.
So the reason that keeps happening is because when... Thank you. I played this deck at Worlds and am now showing it off on stream. So, like, this is a runner who is aggressively challenging my board state. So I'm looking for the things that make that a bad idea for them. And in this case, I could... I guess I could have installed this and advanced it once instead. But that makes it clear that it's not a Reaper function. And they're worried about Reaper function, and it makes it look a little bit more scary as a card. So maybe they draw up enough. Putting the anemone in front of it I know this is twice now recently where I've had people take the enemy damage and keep going, even knowing that like there's a bunch of cards in the deck that could kill them. Like the final sting would have killed them there as well on one card.
What's the text on Sting? Is it? I thought that it was if they already had the other two stings. The final sting would kill them with the PE.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha.
It's a bit of a damned if you do, damned if you don't type thing, right? Because like it isn't. They could have drawn up once more and then run, and they would have been fine. Except they wouldn't have because I have Blood in the Water in hand. Yeah, actually, I'm quite pleased with that last little fork that I created. They could have won by hammering HQ, but they had every reason to think that that continuing the strategy of keeping the board state down was going to win the game for them because they were winning at that point. They'd been doing a thing that was working very well for them, and I just had to change the situation so that if they kept doing it, it started going very badly.
Yeah.
Sometimes this doesn't work. Sometimes runners sense what you're doing, or just suddenly randomly change. I played a game against Cable Carnage, and I was like, you ran the board turn after turn, and then you suddenly stopped that turn, and like the one card on the entire board you never ran was the one I wanted you to. How did you do that? And he was just like, sometimes I just change what I'm doing because it's how you play against PE, and I think that's correct.
Yeah, like, that makes sense.
He's one of the best players in the world, and he knows how to do it.
Yeah, and actually, I think there's one of the reasons that I wouldn't ever disparage this as a deck and play style, even though it's pretty grim and daft, is because there is real art, both in playing it and playing against it, in anticipating it. There's like you ever played Skull?
No, what's Skull?
Skull is, it's a really silly, really, really simple game, and it's a real beaut. It's like a game you can play with beer mats. There's a product of it with nice like little circular things you can use. But basically, it's about you put down face down tokens in front of you, and as you put them down, you say a number, and that number is your bet, if you will, of how many of these you can flip over, and you get a rose instead of a skull. So when you're putting down the number, the expectation is you're saying, I'm putting down one, and I know that I can flip over that one and not die. If the person after you calls you out in some way, I forget what the terminology is, you have to then demonstrate that you can do that. And if you can do it and you don't get any skulls as you flip up these tokens, then jobs are good and you've won and they lose a life. But if you flip up a skull, you lose a life. So it's a really, really, really simple bluffing game. Like there's just no game at all whatsoever in the mechanics. The entire game really is in the bluff, which is like you can do really hilarious. It's a great drinking game. Like if everyone's a bit half cut, it's really funny. And like you can just say one and you put down a skull, and sometimes you do that because you've anticipated that your friend will immediately like
call you on it, or won't call you on
we'll say we'll assume that it's a good one, and then yours will be the one that they flip up and they'll get killed. That kind of thing. So like just having that knack of what people are going to think, like paper scissors stone is another really good like example of like sometimes
and people genuinely get good at that.
You can second guess people. You're always one step ahead of them. There
are championships of it, and the same people come top over and over again. Like it's genuinely you can be very skilled at it.
Yeah. There's some games I play with my wife where she has just got my number the whole time, and I can't beat her. And there's like things like that where she's just like, I know what you're going to do, you dickhead. We've known each other too long. It's just I find it quite funny that I it's slightly affirming of our relationship, I guess. There are some circumstances in which she really knows my shit, and that's all there is to it. There's no point in trying to play a game against her.
Do we dare to try and switch this round so that you play with this deck a bit and I help you pilot it? Or do we think our technical luck has been running thin enough already tonight?
I don't really trust the tech enough to try and change things around. Is how I feel about it.
I could oracle a game, however that works. Like I could load a game and you could tell me exactly what to do, and I'll do my best not to go. I don't think I should do that. Like I'll just do it, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. There's some nice comments in chat here. Lazy. As a runner, PE is a great villain of a puzzle to learn how to beat. Feels really rewarding when you apply what you've learned well and get the winning XP.
Yeah.
100%. And Dunn says Skull is the game Vesper always has with him on meetups and last days of tournaments. I assume you're talking about Skull rather than Paper, Scissors, Stone. Yeah.
Young man. Right. You're gonna meet your adoring fans. This is Rose and Cats, everyone. Rose and Cats is one of my two lovely young men. This one's Rose and Cats, and his brother is Kittenstan, and he's very affectionate, but he has a terrible sense of timing, and I'm going to have to move you out of the way so I can play Netmarrow. Okay? Say bye-bye.
Yeah.
Say bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, Rose and Cats. So how's oracling going to work? Are you going to proffer some advice as well as...
Would you like me to? I can just...
That's the right amount of advice.
I'm sorry, could you repeat what you said?
I think I'll ask quite a lot, and
Sure.
at that stage I feel advice. I think that's probably the way to go with that.
Streaming live. Okay. And now we wait. The trap is set. Now we wait. I should definitely have. That deck has currently got a 100% success record when I am wearing a top hat and moustache, and I would like to play more games on JNet wearing them to see if the correlation continues.
Can we set you don't have a profile pic on JNet? Perhaps that should be addressed right now, Jessica.
It should. I would do it right now. I think it might make quite bad content, but I will do it when between now. Like you get unboxing videos. You don't get updating my profile videos. I've noticed this. It's part of my observational comedy set that I'm working on. You don't get updating your profile videos.
So during Worlds,
yeah.
I hope this isn't a story that's going to haunt me for the rest of my life. We probably need to play. During Worlds, I made a terrible mistake of looking at some other content on Twitch, and there was a lady who was painting her tits.
Fuck, you're going to get mullered here, Dave. I'm really sorry.
Oh, it's Loup. Loup. Oh, they say the jet's kind of janky.
Right, what do you want to keep this, or do you want to mulligan it?
I can see no economy, which makes me think probably mulligan. What do you think?
I agree. It's got no mitosis, no economy is mulligan.
Yeah.
This has got economy at least.
Yeah. I do have the very small benefit that I've played a lot of Loup. In fact, I think I've only played Loups. What's the name of the stream?
Emergency Edge.
Maybe tell them it's YouTube as well. Paul Dunn says they were scared for him that we're gone again. I also feel quite traumatized by technical difficulties this evening, and my apologies that trauma's been shared around.
What would you like to do with this hand, Dave?
Well, now, I think we want to Not any good target. Can we mitosis the NGO front and something else?
Sadly, you can't play it when it's not in hand, so no. It's a trick of light at the end, not a mitosis.
Oh, I get mitosis and moonpool confused the whole time. Okay, I reckon NGO advance and then maybe moonpool. Does that make sense as a line?
Yeah.
Hoffcorp says, if you're as skilled as Metropole Grid, I'm going to get wrecked.
You have nothing to worry
Yeah, that's the appropriate response.
These are good starting cards for them. We just let this go, right? Like, we don't want a moonpool or anything, I assume.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
And we've got money for one snare. We've got money for one snare. Like, they could die here quite easily.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, too. That.
Hang on, we win. All right, can you see the win? Can you see the win on the table, Dave?
The win on the table, blood in the water. 2 blood in the waters, right?
Yeah, double blood in the water wins it.
Yeah, cool.
Shall I go ahead and do it?
Yeah.
Should I win the game, Dave? What do you think?
On balance, Jessica, I'm in favour of winning the game.
Ah.
Oh, no. Boo.
What do you want to do with our last click?
Do we need a click to get the money from
No.
NGO front?
We might advance
we should definitely
it.
do that because we want to get the snare. We want to have enough money for snare, don't we?
We do. Shall we advance it once and then save it for what?
Yeah, or we could put an enemy on something and hope to bait them.
None of these make. Which do you want to? Where do you want to put an enemy?
Oh, like the HQ.
Yeah.
We can do the trash from NGO whenever, can't we?
Yeah. It's clickless. Okay.
This is some risky business, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, they've seen the top 3, right? They saw, and we didn't draw, so they know what this is.
Yeah, they're going to trash things and get the Loup triggers. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a Reaper function. We might have considered moonpooling there. They currently can't trash that moonpool.
Can we fire? We can't fire. Can we fire the moonpool now? Do we want to?
Sorry, I should have given you an opportunity. We could have fired it.
That's okay. It's really easy to start going autopilot.
Okay.
I'm not sure there was a load of benefit to that.
So we've got an enemy, a snare, a blood in the water, and a trick of light.
I would like to draw. I feel we don't quite have enough stuff. There's the mitosis.
Oh, dang. We've only got 2 targets for it, though, and neither of them are actually particularly juicy.
No, the blood in the water and nothing, isn't it?
Blood in the water and snare. We could put out. Or another line is we could put an enemy on R&D and click for a credit.
I think I probably prefer that. I don't feel that the mitosis play is optimal right now.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah, this is the this is the combo that we hate. I'm going to make a suggestion, Dave.
Tell me.
If they manage to trash this moon pool, they get another token on Imp.
Let's fire the moon pool.
Yeah, let's fire
and, get the counter on NGO front. Why did you decide that the Blood and the Water was the right one to...
Because it's the only one we can legally do.
Okay.
It has to be an agenda.
Right, okay, yeah. Oh, it goes... Sorry, I just don't know how Moonpool works very well. It goes into archives and then back into R&D, is that?
We have one. We res NGO here.
Yep.
And presuming that they...
If they don't have the steel skin, they're dead, right?
I'm going to suggest we trash the Trick of Light.
Yeah, works for me. I think we're dead as well, hoffcorp. Hoffcorp.
When I saw the knob imp combo. So I think Movirus is in the deck purely to try and counter these sorts of decks. But my experience has been that Movirus is like throwing a glass of water and hoping to put the sun out. Like they just run you over with bio tokens and triggers these decks.
I mean, I can speak with some authority about this. Probably only this archetype in the entire game at the moment. So against a Loup with a virus economy, you just need to have a corp deck that's got a decent amount of ice, and you need to purge relentlessly.
Yeah,
that's all you can do. And probably against somebody who's not an idiot like me and is playing only Audrey and no other breakers, you're a bit stuck unless you can keep their economy low enough to purge. And in between those two things, just slow them right down. But it's tricky.
I have been playing with a Loup deck recently that runs just Audrey and Bankar and that's it. And you get locked out a lot. The decks that I've seen that do really well have Knobkery and Friday Check-In at the same time. So you'll get... And real breakers as well as backups.
Yeah.
And sometimes...
I think that's probably the smart move is having other breakers as backup.
Yeah.
At some point on stream, I'd be quite interested to look again at my Loup deck now that I've spent ages polishing it, because I think it's a lot more solid. I don't think it's tier 1 at all, but like maybe 2 or 3.
Do you want to play another one of this?
Yeah. Let's do one more, I reckon. I'm had a bit of a long day. I'm feeling a little bit tired, so I think I've probably got one game
sounds about right.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if Rosenkatz's purring is coming through or not.
No, it's not loud enough. Yeah, I was going to say on that Loup deck I had, I'm still the one thing I kind of need to iron out before I publish it is the console.
Yeah.
I found Knobkery is in that particular configuration is a little bit expensive, and it doesn't help you once you've been purged. If all the centrals are iced, is it central that it fires off, or is it just any run?
I think it's any run.
Yeah,
I think it's the first run every turn.
The
and with Friday Chip,
is everything
you can
being
get
iced and getting purged. Yeah.
I don't know. I've been playing. I think Diogene's variant of it, which is a little bit old now, and just getting locked out by Glacier over and over and over again. But that could well be my poor piloting of it. I've been enjoying playing with all of the like trash these out of hand type cards. And something I didn't realise till today is that you can use... is it Audrey?
The breaker, the AI breaker. Yeah.
You can use that to trash the price and steel skin and stuff without it even being a run.
Yeah, you mean Strike Fund, not the price.
I do mean Strike Fund. Or someone was saying to me earlier today that they stopped a fast advance by using Audrey on the Corp's turn to trash a clock from hand that they could then simul check back in. And of course the Corp was like, the Corp didn't recognise the clock threat because there wasn't a clock in the bin and there wasn't an SMC on the table, but they had got that window to just do it on the Corp's turn, which is just like...
That is some next level shit. I like that a lot.
They did it at Worlds as well, which is really top.
That's really cool. Yeah, with that deck, I mean, the reason that I spent lots of time on it is because getting locked out is the counterplay, and just trying to tech the deck enough that it's got something to say once you get locked out. It has been an interesting deck building experience.
I remember telling you to take Contaminate out, and I was definitely wrong about that. It's extremely good in that deck. Yeah.
I remember us belatedly noticing Baa Ram Wu saying in the comments that was really quite a bad idea. And
Baa Ram Wu, who turns out to be lovely, by the way, who I met over the weekend.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
What a shock. He turns out to be a lovely person.
Yeah.
Nothing like his cruel, mean demeanour on stream.
Yeah.
It's all an act. I think maybe we
need to change the name of the game. Come on in, the flatline is lovely. We're your friends, honest. Nothing bad is going to happen in this match.
I like this person's name. 55 burgers, 55 fries. I think it's a reference to an I Think You Should Leave sketch, and I love that.
Okay.
I love that sketch show.
That is not a show that I know very well.
Well, then let's terminate this conversation here because... Oh, hello! Hello, Baa Ram Wu.
Oh, my goodness. No way. Lacey's literally saying Baa Ram Wu being a class act seems about right.
We were just talking about you.
That's really funny.
What do you want to do with this hand, Dave?
I see no economy, and I see no mitosis, and I think probably a mulligan.
I think a mulligan too. I don't think it's completely unplayable. I think like if I'd mulliganed into this hand, I would just go bam, 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 and live my life.
Yeah.
But and this, I was going to say it's worse, but it's actually got mitosis in it.
Yeah. Mitosis, the cerebral, and
may I suggest that your third click should then be take credit, because otherwise you can't fire the cerebral.
Yeah, that's a very good suggestion. What is the other thing that you would hit with the mitosis?
Sting.
Cerebral and Sting.
Cerebral and Sting.
Of course, because the play with Sting is to feed into them and then score the third, right?
Yeah, or just have them on table as 2 surprise net damage that you can do with the click.
Yep.
Okay. And then take a credit.
Yep. The animal shelter. I don't see that played very often.
I actually saw Wu playing this the other day.
This deck, was he playing it on the...
Something very similar to it. Anakam's going to be a problem to us. We should always expect to do 1 more net damage than we need to.
Yes, of course, yeah.
I have ideas about what to do with this. What do you want to do with it?
So I would be tempted to draw. I might be tempted to put the spin doctor on the table instead of drawing, in fact. Because that's drawing 2.
I think this is going to be... Shall we res it, yeah?
Yeah.
Oof. How do you want to play the rest of this?
It'd be good to get the Marilyn on the table and get some money. I don't... And maybe the moon pool.
That leaves... My only suggestion would be maybe only do one of those.
Because we don't want to thin out HQ.
We've currently got 4 points in HQ.
Yeah.
So maybe draw once.
Draw a Malin? Yeah, like it.
Cool. And next time, if all goes according to plan, we can mitosis out an NGO and something.
Yeah. Not trashing the Marilyn, which is in...
They didn't have credits to do it.
Ah, right, okay. Okay. It's the wrong one.
It is, and I wish we'd put the moon pool out.
Never mind.
I assume we did want to fire that, right?
I definitely, yeah. Oh my goodness, 2 deep dives. That is a brutal pair of hits. I think you should tell him it's really nice. Yeah. How? Okay, have we got a line here, Jessica, that's going to be cool?
Honestly, our line here is probably... We haven't got anything here. We can't even res our Marilyn campaign. We have no money.
Thing, can we?
I'm going to suggest we draw once, because then we can abandon these 2 brick agendas that we've got in hand, and then click for 2 credits. What do you think? Then next term, we can mitosis out the NGO if they don't get it.
Yeah, I'm down with it. What would you mitosis out alongside the NGO?
I mean, right now it would have to be the hybrid release, right? They've gotten the NGO. That's a fucker.
That's really annoying. Yeah.
Oh, we can res the Marilyn though. We'll res it, yeah?
Yeah, that definitely, yeah, that's a good start.
I honestly think we just click for 3 credits here. Unless you've got something better in mind. Like, these aren't good.
I mean, aren't good targets for the mitosis.
No.
Fine. Any drawing worth doing? Is the only question that I would ask.
Because we want to spend the rest of our turn clicking for credits, I don't want to draw and then discard stuff unnecessarily. I don't necessarily want to get agendas into our hands.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
Like, clicking for... Part of my thinking there is... Clicking for credits... Alright, so what have they got? They've got Conduit or something like that.
And that was a very clever play to increase the agenda density of R&D, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And it was sensible of them to run the Spin Doctor instead of Archives. Because
something nasty might be in archives.
Yeah.
Whereas the Spin Doctor is the Spin Doctor.
Okay, now I think we could mitosis.
Yeah.
Urtica, hybrid, take a credit.
Yeah.
No, Urtica Moonpool, take a credit.
Yes. Yeah, that's the one, isn't it? Very wisely drawing up there.
Yep.
Turns out Baa Ram Wu is not only nice, but quite good at playing Netrunner.
Yeah. He is very good at playing Netrunner.
Sickening.
Shouldn't be allowed. I think we're just looking for credits again. They've kept our econ down.
Makes sense. Interesting it's not run either of those.
Yeah. Clearly stream sniping us, but that's fine, like whatever. They've got a very good deck against ours. Anacam plus this Lago makes it quite hard to kill them. I suggest click for credits, personally.
I think, yeah, I'm in favour of that.
It's not create a new server, is it, this Lago? It's put a card in the root of a server.
Yes.
Okay. I was literally just about to say we might be able to grind them out, which isn't pretty, but it's doable. But they're about to put 5 cards back into their deck, which makes that a bit less doable.
Boo! Boo! So I feel it would be really nice to have a Trick of Light right now.
Yeah, but with no good target for it is the annoyance.
What?
We've got a hybrid release, but like we could score that from hand anyway if we wanted to.
Yeah. How about putting the other moon pool on the table and then doing something else?
Should we draw out a moon pool
first? Yeah.
Take a credit, maybe.
Yeah. Let's draw first and see what comes up. Okay. And then take a credit. What about next turn? Trying to score out the blood and the water, and do we want to fire the moon pool?
I don't particularly want to. I'm sorry, I didn't want to particularly fire that moon pool. We've got another one on the table anyway, right?
I thought there might be a play in the next turn scoring a blood and the water and a hybrid release.
How?
I haven't added it up, Jessica. I just feel that it's something that should be possible.
I would also like to do that, Dave. Oh, that is the worst hit from that hand. Absolutely the worst.
O'clock.
Oh
no,
they got our blood in the water.
Yeah. Sorry, I was looking at Moonpool to try and justify my hunch that it should in some way be allow us to do what I'm suggesting.
You were right, though. We should have played it, because then we wouldn't have had blood in the water in hand.
It would be nice.
All right, shall we do the bell end move of just shoving an enemy in front of this and double advancing it.
Yeah, sure, why not? Even on the table, hush on the enemy. That's a very good play on his part. I would say probably not res here, right?
Yeah, no res.
Not worth the money, yeah. But can we fire the moonpool now?
Yeah. I mean, we don't need to, but we should just for funds.
Mm-hmm. Big damage indeed. I think we should tell him that you literally called it the bell ends move before we did it. Oh dear.
Well, there we go. Bell end play to.
This is what we do for our public.
It is both the bell end and the bookend of tonight's edition of Emergency Hedge. Yeah.
It's a good deck.
I think it might be a good deck, Dave. Like, we lost one game with it tonight, I want to say.
I think that's right, yeah. I haven't been keeping track, and I'm just slightly at the end of the evening where my brain is slightly melted because I had
I was about to write thanks for the game, like someone else does, but I thought that was a bit silly, so I just wrote thanks for the game and made a little heart.
Yeah.
The Moonpool play isn't something that I actually did at all at Worlds, but I think it's an extra little line this deck has. And that was another game where I was like, I'm pretty sure they've got this, and so you try and bait them into something. I've seen people say, I'll just talk a little bit more about this and then we'll say goodnight to people. I have seen people say, and I don't think it's unreasonable, that they don't like this. Like, they don't like playing against it, and they specifically don't like the is it a clearinghouse or is it a trap type thing. How much
I feel that's
damage?
reasonable.
I don't think it's unreasonable at all.
Yeah, I think it, as we were saying earlier in the evening, I think it's a really different beast on JNet compared to live. Like, I think even if you get banned move like flatlines live, it's a more enjoyable experience than it is.
Yeah.
Obviously, playing a bit against Baa Ram Wu, where you know him a little bit, you've actually met him in real life. It's slightly different than against an anonymous person, but like not having the social reads and the enjoyable table chatter that can come from it, I think makes for a flatter experience when it's something like this. In a way that's like other decks, there's not so much of a disparity in terms of the experience.
I definitely have logged into games on JNet and CNP on the other side of the table, and their opener has been install. I just think, fine, I run them all, but I'm not. I'll run them all, but I'm not going to have fun doing it.
Yeah.
Basically.
You can't make me enjoy this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. With the moon, I was just thinking about the Moonpool play. Obviously, we couldn't have done it in that time I suggested because we didn't have the agendas. But actually, having a spin doctor on the table opens up some nice lines with a double Moonpool, right? You can have two agendas in archives, and you can have 2 in hand, and then suddenly you can get 4 counters
on something. And it could be a clearinghouse. It could be the agenda that you need to score. One of these days I'll score out with this deck, I'm sure. It just hasn't come up as an option that I need to pursue at any point. And one more thing I'll say, which I didn't put in the deck right up, but I was thinking, is one of the reasons I don't try and score out with this deck is that when you get to 5 points, runners start running everything. And I don't want runners running everything. I want runners... It's much better for me if runners run nothing. Much better. Than if runners run everything.
Not keeping a board state down and therefore your combos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Shall we say goodnight to our lovely audience, Dave?
I think so, yeah. I have enjoyed this evening. Thank you, Jessica, for showing off your deck. And congratulations once again on your high placing at Worlds.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it.
Good. I'm just going to say for the record, I think it's also quite funny that you were lukewarm about going to Worlds, and you've placed so high that really you probably need to have a proper try next time.
Yeah, I think I probably do. I will say I don't think I would have done better this time if I tried properly. I think I would have done much worse. I think I did well, partly because I took a thing that I enjoyed doing that was high variance. Whereas if I'd been like, this is currently the best deck in the meta, I will play the best deck in the meta, even though it's not quite right for me, I'd have sat there all day and then we do this, and not had a good time and not won either.
I wanted us to chat a bit about your Arissana deck and why you thought it wasn't very good, but maybe now's not the time to.
Maybe. I mean, we're playing Netrunner again next week and we're doing runner stuff.
We
can talk about it. I don't think I'll play a lot of it on stream. One of my reliefs about not getting into the top cut was that nobody had to see it. It was full of last minute changes that made it much, much worse. And and it's just real hard. The one thing I will say is that I think I learned at Worlds is that Arissana is a really good representation of the trans experience because it's about being constantly overwhelmed by triggers and just turn off.
Had you had many reps with it playing live before you took the deck to Worlds?
No. And literally about 2 or 3 days before I played it live, and I hadn't played it live much, and I was like, oh, I shouldn't be taking this to Worlds, but it's much too late for me to learn something else.
Yeah.
Next time I'll take something simpler. That would be the big change I make. I take a simpler runner deck.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Well, we in the interim we can chat about what and how we play next week, and I look forward to that.
Yeah.
And thank you everybody for spending some time with us. Have a really good evening. Please flatline all of your friends.
Yeah.
And stop them being your friends anymore.
I'll see you all next week.
Yeah, cool. Good night. Lots of love. Bye bye.
Oh, it's me. I've got to press